At a time when a woman really had very defined roles in life and in society at the beginning of the 20th century, Harriet Quimby really broke the mold and epitomized the model of the new-aged woman. She never married. She lived on her own in an apartment in New York. She held a career, not just a job, but a career as a journalist for Leslie's Illustrated Weekly. And on top of all of that, she became the first licensed female pilot in the United States. Quimby's interest in aviation really began around 1910 when she was sent out to Los Angeles to cover what was the country's first aviation meet. It was at these early aviation meets that Harriet Quimby met the Moissant family. One of her very close friends, Matilda Moissant. It was Matilda's brothers who ran the aviation school. Beginning in 1911, Harriet Quimby attended the Moissant School of Aviation in Long Island, and she became the first licensed female pilot in this country. At the turn of the century, a woman's dress was very codified. It was very structured. Always a dress, a long skirt. That sort of wardrobe just wouldn't work for a pilot. An aviator needs to be able to climb in and out of the cockpit. She needs to be able to turn the prop over. And so Quimby came up with her own flight suit. It was best known for the fact that it was very bright purple satin. It was clearly divided pants that tucked into boots, so she was really bucking the dress code tradition at the time. She said everything that set a pilot apart happened from the neck up. It wasn't about gender, in her opinion. She flew in exhibitions around North America. She made handsome salaries doing so. She was the first American woman to fly an airplane at night. She was the first woman to fly over Mexico City. She actually flew at the inauguration of the Mexican president, and it was there that she conceived the scheme of flying across the English Channel. People may wonder why the English Channel was such a magnificent feat at the time. Just a slight variance in her course, as little as 5 miles, would put her out over the open ocean. So she knew very well what the risks of flying what sounds like an insignificant distance really represented at the time. She actually borrowed an airplane from Louis Blériot, the inventor of the aircraft. Even though the airplanes she had learned to fly in were similar to the Blériot 11, she had never actually flown an actual Blériot until she crossed the channel. She did more than just a single first. Everything about this channel crossing was the first time she or a woman had ever done any of these things. Quimby wasn't the only one who was well aware of the danger that this trip posed. A good friend of hers and fellow pilot Gustav Hamel had offered to fly in Harriet's stead. He thought it was too risky. He didn't want his friend risking her life, so he offered to don her signature purple satin flight suit. And because it was a foggy day, he thought that nobody would really notice that the pilots had switched once they landed in France. And Quimby would have nothing to do with that. She was determined that she was going to make this flight, and she was going to do it all under her own power with no trickery. And sure enough, she did. Despite the significance of Quimby crossing the English Channel on April 16, 1912, her accomplishments were overshadowed by the tragedy just a few days before of the sinking of the Titanic. Quimby's life ended less than a year after earning her pilot's license. She was performing on July 1st, 1912 at the Harvard-Boston Air Meet over Boston Harbor, where she and her passenger were ejected from the airplane, falling over 1,000 feet to their deaths. Harriet Quimby was a woman who dared throughout her entire life. She broke the mold. She bucked tradition. She fought conventional gender roles, everything from her career to her lifestyle. She really was a woman who dared.